Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Closed Doors. And today we have a really special one, data loss. We all know it, well I hope you don't, but it's a real problem. And today it's all about that. Now you probably already know I really like the LaCie hard drives, right? We use the rocket drives on location, hey they're orange and I'm Dutch, and we use the big 2-dog in the studio. But did you also know that Seagate and LaCie actually have something really special? They have a data recovery center. That means if by accident you spoil coffee over your drive or if you really lose data, they can get it back. And that's unique because I don't know any other brand that has the same setup. So today we're going to go to Amsterdam. We're going to go to the Seagate and LaCie Data Recovery Center. I'm really psyched about this. So join us for today's episode of Behind the Closed Doors. Okay, we arrived at the location of Seagate LaCie, the recovery center in Amsterdam. So let's go in and let's go to the area where nobody is allowed normally. Hey, we're ready for the tour, but let's first start. What happens when a hard drive comes in the recovery center? Okay, of course the first step is the hard drives have to get into the recovery center. So we're now in the mail room, let's call it mail room. So here are the packages and all the drives actually go into these brackets. And after that, they will get one of these drives, and these are actually new drives where they are gonna do all their magic on. Okay, of course after the mailroom we have to make sure that the drives are bare, because you can't recover a drive that's in a housing, right? We have to make a uniform system. So the drives are actually stripped. And this is actually where Chris comes in. Hey Chris.
Hello.
And here you can see the bare drive, and they will also store of course your personal items, but everything else like housings or cables are stored here, and you will never see those again of course. After that the drives are stored here, and then we're up for step 3. After Chris is done with its magic by making the drives bare, they are actually stored here, and they call it pre-F. And this is just before they go into the lab, and now they know sure that all the serial numbers check out for the customer, so you won't end up with somebody else's data, because, well, data loss is terrible, but ending up with somebody else's data is of course something you don't want. So they're very, very careful with that. And one of the things they're actually very, very proud of is their system with that serial numbers, because again, you don't want to end up with the wrong drive or with the wrong data. So throughout this whole system, that serial number and that client are constantly linked. So in every step, they have to make sure that everything is just in sync. And it's a lot of work, but I think they really got it down to a niche. It's really good. Okay, so now you deliver, of course, let's say 2 terabyte drive. But how do you get your data back, and how do they know it's for PC or Mac? Well, they actually color label everything. So let's take a look here. Now you actually see here 2 dots, and that means it's a Mac. If you only have 1 dot, it's a PC. And they have different codes for delivering back on a 4 terabyte drive, 2 terabyte drive, or even in the cloud. And here you can see one that's actually PC and one that's Mac. So it's a really clever system, because now from the front to the back you actually know exactly how to deliver your stuff back to the client. Okay, and up to the next step. Now you remember those stories about car mechanics that actually use their ears to listen to a hard drive? Look at this. This is the preamp. And Melvin is actually listening to the hard drives to hear if they can recover it. Sounds ridiculous, but trust me, you can really hear it in a hard drive. And another hard drive to his ears. Is that savable, Melvin?
Definitely.
Definitely. Awesome. They can pretty much save everything. And the cool thing is, they actually told me just a few seconds ago that these are actually hard drives that already went to another company. And according to the other company, it's a total data loss. And Melvin already told me that even from those drives, they recover a lot of stuff. So I would just go straight here, but hey, that's me. You could call Melvin the hard drive whisperer.
You gotta help me disappear from all those voices that I fear, and all the moments I couldn't handle 'cause I'm different. You have to promise to stay near. You're always telling me the truth. That's why I...
Okay, so now of course the next step is making sure that you have something that you can work with. Now, you know how a hard drive works, right? You have platters, and you have the head, and you have the motor, and all the prints. And actually this is an interesting area where they have a lot of these, well, readers. And it depends on how the hard drive is manufactured, what they do, a head transplant or a platter transplant. So look at this drive. This is an ultra slim drive. And as you can see here, they actually know exactly like, okay, this is a drive like this. So here we're gonna replace just the platters, or we're just gonna replace the reader. So it's not like they just take your hard drive and they connect it to a computer. Sometimes the hard drive is literally transported to another housing, or new readers are placed in. And these guys just literally know from every single hard drive they manufacture exactly how they do it. And that's the cool thing, because they actually have Seagate behind it. So it's not a company that only works like, okay, we can do hard drives. No, they literally have the manufacturer behind them, backing them up. You saw the joke, right? So that's an awesome advantage of course, these guys. And to be honest, there's a lot of stuff here. And by the way, behind this, and we now turn it down, is a big fan. So that actually makes sure that there's little as possible dust over here. So this is a really clean area to work.
You're always telling me the truth. That's why I lean on you. Just like you know that I always do. Oh, listen now, I'll never make it. So help me pull through. Whenever I've bitten off more than...
Of course, you also need drives in the in-between stages to copy on, right? And you have to make sure that those drives are deleted and are actually really empty. Because if you just format the drive, there's still data on there which these guys can actually recover. So you have to make sure that they're written over a few times. And here we have Chris again. He's a very important person, I think, here. And these drives are all verified to be 100% safe and empty. So safe and empty literally means that they're written over several times. So whatever they do, even these guys can't get data back from these drives. So they're 100% virgin drives. So what's the next step for the virgin drives? Well, the virgin drives, of course, are used for the recovery. And this is one of the recovery stations, and they have many over here. So in the front, you see the client's drive, because that actually has a red dot. And in the back, you see the virgin drive. And it wasn't a joke, it's really called a virgin drive. And that drive actually has a green dot. Now, the very interesting stuff is that with the software they use and the serial numbers, it's only possible to copy data one way. So it's never possible to actually, by accident, for example, copy it the other way around. So it's pretty much 100% fail-safe. So let's see what the next step is.
I know that you're curious, I know that you're strong, but life can be furious and things can go wrong.
Of course, sometimes, well, you just can't do it like just screw something out and screw something in. Sometimes you have to use a soldering iron. And they actually have a little room over here, which is a little bit of a mess, they told me, where they actually do all the soldering. But you have to realize one thing. So, if you want to see data damage on a hard drive, you of course can look at the platters, but then you have to take the platters out of your drive and you have to place them back in. And you have to find where the damage is. Now, if you place a platter back into your hard drive, what can happen? You can have alignment issues, you can have all sorts of difficulties which make the drive, well, slower or just not reliable anymore. So what they do here is, because the heads actually have to be taken out because they're probably damaged or they don't work, they can actually see with a very, very high microscope, they can actually see where the damage is. So if in one of the heads there's actually a little bit of dust, they actually know which platter is probably the culprit in that drive. So that saves them a lot of time, but most of all it makes the whole process way, way more safe, because they don't have to disassemble the whole drive. They just know by looking at the head under a microscope where the chance is that something is wrong. Very, very smart. Now, of course, the final step is where we are now. And this is where they actually create new drives for the customer, and sometimes the virgin drive is also the recovered drive, and sometimes they need new drives. So this is the final stage, and you can actually see that they get it on new drives or they actually end up on the cloud. Now, they just told me that everything they do is actually encrypted. So BitLocker, or they use a MAC system. Now, why do they do this? Very simple. If they send the disk out to you, you don't want the mailman to go away with your drive, right? Now, you also don't want, if the mailman by accident sends my drive to you and your drive to me, that I can open up your data. So by using a password protected system, they know for sure that if the drive arrives with the wrong client, they can't open your data. If the drive gets lost or stolen, they can't do anything with your data. So this is really nice, and I never thought about that. But when he told me, I was going like, yeah, that makes sense, because I don't want my drive to be somewhere where I don't want my data to be. So overall, really, really interesting stuff. And now we're actually going to talk to Melvin, because he's the guy that actually showed me around, and we're going to ask him some questions about the whole process. I think they only do businesses or consumers. You're absolutely wrong. Look at this. They also do stuff, of course, for forensic units. Before the interview, we also have something cool. Now, you saw all these modern drives, right? But they also recover, of course, memory cards and whatnot more. The thing is, in the past, remember tapes? Where you hear this high noise and then and that was your game? They also can recover that. But the problem with tape, of course, is every system is unique. You have the jazz drives, zip drives, optical drives. They even have a polisher still here for optical units. But look at this. He opened up this case and I said, we have to film this. All the old drives. These Sony and optical drives, jazz, IBM. Isn't that just awesome? Hey, so we just had a tour through the recovery center. I'm here joined by Melvin. Hey Melvin, how are you?
Good, good, thank you.
It was absolutely awesome to see what they do. And I do have some questions for Melvin, so we're going to ask you some questions now.
Fire away.
So people often think that I have a hard drive, right? And nothing will happen to that hard drive because I paid 100 or 200 euros for that hard drive. They take it out of the box and they think this is going to last us for 10 years. Can you tell us a little bit about what can go wrong with a hard drive?
Your circuit board may break out due to a surge in power. Your heads may crash because you drop it off your table. A virus may infect all your files and corrupt everything. You may format your drives. You may lose your partition table. I can go on for hours. What can go wrong?
It's what a lot of people don't realize, right? We shoot digital photographers. We are creators. We use video. And I always tell people, like, what would you pay if I tell you now, I take your hard drive, I steal your hard drive, everything is gone. What would you pay to get all that data back? And they go like, my data is priceless, I would pay anything. And still people don't make backups. You said it at the start, like there were people that actually make a backup by using one partition for the data and the second partition for backups.
Yeah.
What can we do as, for example, in this video, to make people aware how important it is to keep those backups in? Because I'm a little bit afraid that I showed around and I showed people how great you guys are with data recovery. But I don't want to build in a false hope of, hey, when I buy a LaCie drive, it will be always recovered. So what's your success rate?
Well, in 10% of the cases, we're still unable to recover data. And that can have, again, a myriad of causes. Heads can crash into platters so hard that they create a lot of dust that create even more damage. Or clients can overwrite their own data. Say you delete 500 gigabytes of files and then you overwrite it with 500 gigabyte of 4K movies, that data is still gone forever. So it's still super important to make regular backups, and it's not that difficult.
Now, another thing is we started talking about this in Dutch, so we didn't record that one. So I have a 22 years experience of a computer business, and we got a lot of people in that were really like in tears because they lost all their data, and then most of the data was actually on an old laptop, and they lost the funeral pictures or the birth pictures. Now, we did a little bit of data recovery, and I told you at the start, like one of the tricks we always used was just hit the drive in a certain G-force and it would work, or put it in a refrigerator. And that worked with the old drives. Now, you told me something that at that point I didn't even realize, but it made absolutely sense when you explained it. Nowadays, the drives are way more advanced, right?
Yeah, a lot has changed in 20 years. They're still rectangular objects, but on the inside, the data density is grown immense amounts. 20 years ago, you had a 4 gigabyte drive, 10 gigabyte drive. The bits and the bytes on that drive were this big. Right now you have trillions of bytes in that same area. So it's a lot more difficult to recover drives, and the minute components of it are much smaller and delicate.
We go from Duplo to dust.
Pretty much.
So in the old times when we put it in the refrigerator, it was okay. Nowadays that would actually do more harm than...
It will likely do more harm, yes.
Okay. So when you look at the future of data recovery. Now, I remember that when we did data recovery, one of the things that we always ran into was that we could get data back easily with software, but we always got like no file name. So we get like 00.1.jpg or 00.mp4. Now, you told me something that I really thought was interesting. You guys actually are able to get all the data back with file names, etc.
Not always, but most of the time, yes. Our software has gotten a lot more advanced, especially over the last years, where we not only look at the file system for metadata, but also the file itself. There's a lot of information your camera stores inside of that file. So even if we don't know what the original name should have been, or the name you gave it, we know the camera name, the date the picture was taken, sometimes even the location. And then we build that into the file names to give a more usable structure back to our customers.
Okay, now a very, very bad question for you. How safe is my data with you guys? Because I have a lot of family pictures on my hard drive, if you know what I mean.
Those pictures, yes.
So how safe is that drive with you guys? Can I send it in, or should I just crash it?
Send it in, definitely. Everyone's data privacy is held to the highest standard with us. You already explained during the walk around that we make 100% sure that your data comes back to you, not somebody else. Besides that, after the whole process is done and we're sure you have your data with you again, we completely erase that from our systems and then reuse that drive again for the next customer. We cannot afford to have data mix-ups.
No, of course not. So that's why I asked. I already knew the answer. So how many people work here?
We have 5 engineers, someone from R&D and someone that does our logistics.
Okay, Melvin, I'm really impressed, and especially about the success rate. And I know a little bit about the technical stuff, but as a creator, and now I look at you guys, as a creator, you don't want to lose data. This is where you put your soul in. This is where, I can't even stress that enough. My pictures are not just snaps I take. My pictures are a little bit of me. If I lose all my images now, I would be devastated. So my backup plan is always very simple. I keep it on my drive, I keep it on a NAS, and I keep it on an external location. And even then, let's say you're copying everything to a bigger drive and both drives crash, because hey, that can happen. I'm so very glad that when you use LaCie drives, that you actually have a business like Seagate behind you that will do everything to get your precious data back. And the coolest thing is, Melvin, what's the cost of all this for the customers?
It's very low. I don't know exactly how low, but it is very low. I think it's even embedded into the drive when you buy it.
I believe it's free. And hey guys, we're Dutch. So if you know any other reason to buy another brand than LaCie with what you saw today, I challenge you to put it in the comments below, because in my opinion, and of course they have these orange drives and hey, I'm Dutch, but in my opinion, this is one of the services I never saw before. Getting free data recovery, and trust me, data recovery normally. Let me ask Melvin. Melvin, I have a different brand drive and I want it recovered and I want 4 terabytes recovered. What will be the price?
I think you can also buy a small car for that.
A small car? Like a dinky toy or a Tesla?
Not a Tesla. It's in
Second-hand.
hundreds of dollars or euros.
Hundreds of dollars?
Yes.
Okay. That's come
It's
down
a very
a
small
lot.
car, but...
Yeah, very small car, second-hand. Melvin, thank you so very much for
You're
showing
very
us
welcome.
around. I'm very, very impressed. Thank you. Now look at what we found here. You probably know this guy, right? And the cool thing is, Melvin actually told me something that's really interesting, and we didn't do that during the tour. They have 3D printers here because sometimes they need special tools, or they need something to take a platter out, and those tools simply aren't available. So they print them themselves to use. There goes so much more behind this stuff than just recovering data. It's mind-boggling, but it's so cool to see this. It's really nice. Okay guys, I'm back home editing the vlog for you guys, and there was something that just triggered me on the way back, and I was going like, this is something that I don't know if was clear in the video, but I really have to tell you guys this, because this is literally something that pushed me towards LaCie, in all honesty. Now, you and I create stuff, right? We love putting content out and we put our soul in it. So the first step, of course, is data loss. Now, if you lose all your images, all your videos, what do you think? Well, that's a disaster, right? You want those images back. It doesn't matter what it costs, you want it back. Now, remember that a lot of people actually think that when they make a partition on their hard drive, like the C drive and the D drive, that's actually a backup, which of course it isn't because it's on the same drive. But a lot of stuff can happen how you lose your data, like you saw in the video. But that's only one concern. Like you and I, we have a lot of stuff like cameras, hard drives, computers, monitors, and all that stuff costs money. Now, as we mentioned before, we own the computer company for over 20 years. When somebody brought something in for warranty and we send it to the manufacturer, we sometimes got that product back replaced, but often we get that product back with one little stamp, human failure. Now, what is human failure? If something breaks down because it's badly manufactured, or if something breaks down which shouldn't break down because it was warranty, of course it's being replaced. That's the same with hard drives. If a hard drive breaks down during your warranty, it gets replaced because a hard drive shouldn't break down in your warranty. But let's say you have this LaCie rugged drive, like, let me pick one up. You have this beautiful 2 terabyte rugged drive from LaCie. And you're shooting in the desert and, well, you're not careful and you get these little dust particles in your connector, you connect it and boom, the hard drive is done. Or you dump it in the pool by accident and you take it out, it's all wet and it doesn't work anymore. In most cases, when you send something in for warranty from another manufacturer, you will get that horrifying stamp, boom, human failure, because it's your fault, right? LaCie doesn't do this. For certain series of hard drives, and I will list them below, you will have no human failure option. In other words, if it's broken and it's within the warranty, no questions asked, they just replace it. Add to this their data recovery service, which is for free. It's just very impossible for me to imagine why you should pick any other brand. And this is also the reason why I became an ambassador for LaCie. For the very simple reason, there's always this argument between, yeah, but this brand has this advantage, this brand has this advantage. When you look at LaCie, they use the best hard drives. They're very recognizable due to the orange, and I sometimes say this as a joke, but it's of course, it's a bumper, so that means if you drop your hard drive, it's actually protected. You can find your hard drive in a dark studio, so it's not only a gimmick like it's orange, it's actually pretty smart. You can see your hard drive from everywhere. But the warranty, no human failure. That means whatever happens to that drive, if you dump Coke over it, or coffee, or you dump it in the pool by accident, your hard drive will get replaced. And the other thing is your data. Because again, that's the most important thing, guys. Don't underestimate this. Your data has to be protected. And of course, data recovery is a final solution. You should, of course, just have a backup system. But if you need data recovery, at least it doesn't cost you 100 or 200 or maybe thousands of euros. It's free. Now, the other thing is, and I know for sure that some people will go like, yeah, why does LaCie need data recovery? Are their drives that bad? No, it's the opposite. If you have a company that you know your drives aren't that good, you're not going to give a warranty with no human failure and free data recovery. That would be insane for the very simple reason you would have a lot of work. The reason LaCie will give you that data recovery is because actually, and I saw it in the center, they hardly have any real failures of the hard drive itself. Most of the drives we saw were, in fact, human failures. So in my opinion, again, I was already very impressed with Seagate and LaCie. Today I can only say I'm blown away. I saw the data recovery center. They showed me everything. They also showed some stuff behind the scenes which I couldn't film. I kid you not. From now on, every single drive will be replaced by a LaCie drive for a very simple reason. I know that my data is safe. If my hard drive fails, I know that there's no more human failure. So if a hard drive breaks down by my own fault, I don't have to worry about it anymore. They will just replace it within warranty. I kid you not. I was a big fan. I'm an even bigger fan now. LaCie, thank you so very much for showing us around in the Seagate Data Recovery Center. You guys rock. Absolutely awesome. Guys, if you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel, leave comments below, and of course smash that like button because we really like that. Hey guys, see you again next time. Bye bye.